Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Yordenis Ugas defeats Manny Pacquiao via a unanimous decision in which was, in my opinion, a controlled and a concise performance. Now I have to confess, I actually wasn't scoring this fight round by round, I was just enjoying the fight for what it was. But on initial viewing, my thoughts were, for the most part, that Yordenis Ugas was always like a step ahead. And while it was competitive, I think Ugas was the deserved winner in this fight. And I have to say, this was the best I've ever seen Yordenis Ugas look in a boxing ring. I've seen quite a few Yordenis Ugas fights, and I've always seen him as like a top 10 welterweight, but not top 5, not elite. He does the basics well, but I've always seen him as one of those guys who, while he always does the basics well, he doesn't really do anything spectacular, and he's not all that dynamic, not all that quick, not all that powerful. But in this fight, I have to say, Yordenis Ugas' jab was the best I've seen from him. The jab was extremely varied. He did a great job of countering Manny Pacquiao's southpaw jab. He was jabbing over the top of Pacquiao's jab and finding the target. Yordenis Ugas would also double his jab up, jab to the body, changing levels with it, and all in all, the jab just looked quick. It wasn't a super powerful jab, but it was snappy enough to snap the head back of Manny Pacquiao, and I saw that numerous times throughout this fight. Yordenis Ugas' jab in this fight deserves a mention because it was outstanding. And on top of that, he was doing a good job in finding a home for his right hand, and much like his jab, the right hand was actually quite varied. Obviously, we saw the straight right hand, which you would expect from Yordenis Ugas being an orthodox fighter, especially considering he's fighting a southpaw with less reach. So he was finding a home for his straight right hand, but he was also looping his right hand to get around Manny Pacquiao's guard, and he was throwing like a shovel type of right hand to the midsection of Manny Pacquiao, and also a straight right hand to the midsection of Manny Pacquiao. The right hand of Ugas in this fight was extremely varied, and in particular the body shots with that right hand were very accurate, very precise, and at times I felt they kind of took the wind out of Manny Pacquiao's sails in certain moments. So yeah, Ugas, to me, he boxed a technically proficient fight. None of this crazy head movement or running around the ring. He was holding his feet, maintaining range, committing to his jab, finding that nice right hand, the nice varied right hand, and he was doing a good job of quote-unquote managing the real estate in this fight. I think the fight was fought at his tempo and his distance more so than it was Manny Pacquiao's, and Yordenis Ugas definitely did a good job controlling what sort of fight this was. The other aspect of Ugas' performance in which I was quite impressed with was, on occasion, it wasn't all the time, but on occasion, when Manny Pacquiao would throw the flurries, Yordenis Ugas did a good job of actually answering at the end of the exchange. So towards the end of the exchange, Ugas would come back with a 2 or 3 punch combination, and particularly his overhand right. One thing a lot of guys struggle to do against Manny Pacquiao is answer those exchanges. They kind of shell up and become overwhelmed. But at times, Ugas was answering back during these exchanges, which was impressive to me. Not many guys can do that against Manny Pacquiao. Maybe Juan Manuel Marquez was the only guy who really did it super effectively. So that was another aspect of Ugas' performance in which I was impressed with. And all in all, this was the best I've seen the guy box, hence why I'm spending a lot of time on him. As for Manny Pacquiao, I still felt Manny Pacquiao was competitive in this fight. I still felt he did a good job, all things considered, being 42 years old, 26 years in his pro career, 72 fights. I still felt Manny Pacquiao made Ugas work hard, and he was still competitive in this fight. And in my opinion, several of those rounds were close, because when Manny Pacquiao was flurrying, it was really hard to see what was landing and what wasn't, you know. So Manny Pacquiao was still having success, he was still landing, but the problem for Manny Pacquiao in this fight, in my estimation, was his feet. When Pacquiao opened up, I felt his hands still looked extremely quick, very fast hands still, but Manny Pacquiao really struggled to kind of shift and shuffle to close the distance to land those exchanges. There were times when he was kind of throwing combos out of distance and he would fall short. He just couldn't close the distance on Yordenis Ugas. And in this fight, I felt Manny Pacquiao's legs looked significantly slower than they have previously. And obviously that is down to age, you would imagine. And yeah, he just didn't have a bounce in his step. He couldn't really shuffle and close distance quickly. The same explosive movements in his legs weren't really there. Much more flat-footed than I'm used to seeing Manny Pacquiao. The legs just didn't really seem to be there, in my opinion. The hand speed was, the punches in bunches at times was, just, he couldn't get himself in position to make the most of those combinations and that hand speed. And also on top of that, obviously, Ugas was doing a good job sticking that jab in Pacquiao's face, taking that half step back and maintaining distance and keeping Pacquiao off balance. And that's one other thing I noticed in this fight. Manny Pacquiao threw himself off balance a few times. Not a lot, but more than I'm expected to see from Manny Pacquiao. So definitely Manny Pacquiao in this fight looked significantly more depleted than he did against Keith Thurman. That's not taking anything away from Yordenis Ugas, that's just what I saw in this fight. I think Father Time now really has caught up with Manny Pacquiao, and, based on that, what I saw against Yordenis Ugas, he doesn't beat the top welterweights anymore. Keith Thurman, in my opinion, was his last hurrah, I guess you would say, at world level, at elite level, and yeah, I think the time is catching up with Manny Pacquiao. But, still being, 42 years old, being willing to get in there at late notice against a top 10 welterweight who's significantly taller, longer and heavier, it just goes to show what sort of fighter Manny Pacquiao is. And, he's saying in the next month or so he'll make a decision on his future. I mean, me personally, I would still like to see Manny Pacquiao have like a homecoming fight in the Philippines, maybe fight like a sea-level guy, like a Josecito Lopez, somebody who he can beat to ride off in the sunset. I would like to see something like that. But ultimately, with Manny Pacquiao, it's the best or nothing. Is Manny Pacquiao willing to fight like a sea-level guy for a homecoming fight just to bow out with a win? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe this is the way it's got to be for Manny Pacquiao. But me personally, I would still like to see him having a homecoming fight to really kind of officially call an end to his legendary career. But when that news does come out about Manny Pacquiao's retirement, it's definitely going to be a sad day for boxing, because nobody's carrying the sport like Manny Pacquiao in 2021. Nobody's doing what he did, taking the risks that he did, fighting the guys that he did. His resume is absolutely incredible. The feats that he's achieved in his career more than likely will never be matched again. And, I'm grateful that I got to watch Manny Pacquiao. I'm grateful that I got to grow up watching Manny Pacquiao. One of the guys who, really gave me a passion for boxing and really made me invested in boxing. So, regardless of what happens, the guy's had a tremendous, tremendous career, carried himself with dignity, honour, and more importantly, like a warrior throughout. So, big up to Manny Pacquiao. Exceptional fighter, all-time great, legend of the sport. Can't say no more for Manny Pacquiao. But also congratulations to Yordenis Ugas. He still had to do the job, and in my opinion he did. He boxed really well, and I want to see that fight with Ugas and Errol Spence. I think that's a good fight, to be honest. So yeah, interesting fight. I actually quite enjoyed the fight. It was competitive. Again, Manny Pacquiao wasn't washed in this fight. He won rounds, no doubt about it. There was a lot of close rounds. It was competitive. But from my initial viewing, I just felt Yordenis Ugas was always a step ahead. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Peace.